Welcome to another episode of BeerAmerica.tv. John Pinkerton's joining me again. Thanks for coming back. Giddy up.
Glad to be here.
Well, John doesn't usually know the beers that I bring into these things. He doesn't usually ask, right? You don't care. It's beer.
I just look forward to drinking some beers.
All right. Well, to go with the video that was recently posted on the website of the tour of the High Falls Brewing Company, I brought John back a cream ale, a Genesee Cream Ale, which is very unique. And you're familiar with cream ales, yes?
Well, I've consumed cream ales. It's not something that's in the fridge at home per se, but
were you ever afraid of them? Or I mean, I guess you wouldn't. I was afraid of them. See, this is a beer that was created in the 1960s, and being an upstate New York native, Rochester area, this is beer my parents drank, with the Schlitz and all that other stuff. And so I was always afraid of it. And the word cream, I always kind of thought, well, that doesn't really go good with beer, not knowing what it all means.
Yeah, actually, my response has always been kind of the opposite because I've been intrigued by like this mysterious cream ale. It's a brewer, anyways. But I didn't really get exposed to cream ale until much later. Actually, I think that maybe one of the first times I saw it was when I started brewing in Maryland.
Really?
A number of years ago. So, yeah. So I immediately started thinking of it in terms of like how can I approach this as a craft brewer, which has been done now.
Have you done a cream ale?
I haven't, no. But like Terrapin Brewing Company, one of their main beers for a while was their Terrapin. Something cream.
Yeah.
But they eventually changed the name, oddly enough, which might bring us kind of full circle in our conversation. They just changed it back to Golden Ale because so many people don't know what that is. But it was good beer. It is good beer.
Yeah, and you know what? I have been around this beer for a long time, and I've never had it until I went to the High Falls Brewing Company, and I tried it because I had to. I was there, and so I tried it, and I really liked it.
So are these fresh samples?
These are fresh samples. Yes,
that's awesome.
They are fresh samples. So you can see there's no really creaminess to it. It's very golden in color. And by the way, their cream ale, and you'll see this on the video as well. John Fisher told me that it's an old yeast strain, a decades-old yeast strain that makes this a cream ale. It's their proprietary yeast strain, and he credits a lot of that with this. And we're drinking out of beakers today. Your choice.
Yes, it's officially not drinking if it's being consumed out of the beaker. It's
tasting. So we're making this as official as possible. So
very scientific.
I'm going to taste.
Now, what's the party line from Genesee about the cream? What makes it a cream ale?
Well, they said their proprietary yeast strain is what smooths it out.
The cream ale, essentially, it's made to be a little bit smoother than a normal lager beer, and a lot of that is dependent upon our yeast strain. I talked about our proprietary strain of yeast. It's top fermenting ale yeast, and in a beer like cream ale, a product like cream ale, that's what gives it its distinctive flavor and characteristics.
Well, it's definitely got some assertive flavors for what you'd kind of perceive as a mainstream American, the old style beer.
To me, it's one of these. It's a great summertime beer. I think that it's one of these beers that on a hot day is very refreshing. Would you agree? I mean, it just is easy, smooth to drink.
I mean, without question, it's pretty light. But if you were to stack it up against a bunch of other classic American lagers, for instance, you would probably perceive it as being fairly full-bodied comparatively, but still very light.
And it's 5.1% alcohol. And I had to take notes down, but because I thought it was great what they said, and they have a timeline on the creamale.com website that said created in 1960 from the Genesee Brewing Company, which is now the High Falls Brewing Company, but in 1964, you ready for this? Packaged as the male ale, becomes the unofficial leisure beverage of playboys and social swashbucklers.
Social
Swashbucklers, that's a mouthful. But that's what the cream ale was branded and marketed as in 1964. So I thought that was kind of clever and unique. And this is a Great American Beer Fest winner, 1988, silver medal, and it's won 2 gold World Beer Cup medals as well. So it's an award-winning beer.
If you were to reprint that in 2008, I'm not sure what you'd get out of that.
I don't know what you get out of that either.
Social swashbuckling.
Yes, and playboys. So So anyway, this is Genesee Cream Ale. If a Genesee Brewing Company, they mainly, for their Jenny brand beers, are in New York, Pennsylvania, I believe New Jersey, kind of that area. But I was able to get this beer in Savannah, Georgia. And I think that they do in most beer places around the country that specialize in bringing in beers. They should be able to bring it in, is what I'm thinking. Because I was surprised to see it down here. But this was actually brought from the brewery up there, but it is in Savannah, Georgia.
Only in theory, according to the Department of Revenue.
Of course. So anyway, so there you go. So what do you think? You think good? I mean, what would you, somebody who doesn't know anything about cream ales, I guess?
Well, it is the archetype. I've never tried to brew one of these, so I really can't, speak to the craft of it, or
what does it say? Like it's leaving the nice foam along the side, that sort of thing. Does that say anything as a cream ale, or should most beers do that?
Well, we talk about lacing quite a bit.
Lacing, yeah.
That's definitely just a nice aesthetic quality to a beer. It's a pretty beer, and there's no question on a hot day it goes down nicely. One of the things I do like about it is that it's being branded as an ale. I don't know what their proprietary yeast is, but a lot of times coming out of the big breweries, sometimes ales are actually lagers that end up being just sort of like manipulated a little bit to make them, or simply just a label popped on it and they call it an ale. But this to me definitely has some kind of ale-y characters. I mean, there's some fruitiness coming through in there.
At least a little bit on the back of the throat too. I really like this beer, and I was surprised and kind of ashamed that it had taken so many years to actually try it. So I just think this is a great beer, especially a great summertime beer. I was just shocked by it, and it's I think it's something that you should try at least once if you haven't had a cream ale. So that's it for this episode of BeerAmerica.tv. If you have any ideas or suggestions, please feel free to email me at paul@beeramerica.tv. So thanks, John. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cream ale.